The hardest part about making a drum sander is making the drum itself. I used my CNC to cut 5 perfect circles that are going to be placed inside PVC pipe in order to form the drum. I had to do probably 3 different test cuts just to get the tolerances on the internal circle and the external diameter exactly where I wanted it, so it'd be a nice friction fit around the bar and then inside the PVC pipe itself. Here I'm just marking the left and right of each circle to ensure they're evenly spaced on the bar. I decided to use Gorilla Glue for a couple reasons. It's pretty thick, so I knew it wasn't going to drip around on me, and it also expands when it dries, making it ideal for this type of application. I waited until the circles were fully dried onto the bar, and then I applied glue to the outside so I can glue it inside the PVC pipe. The Gorilla Glue is probably more than enough to hold the circles inside the PVC pipe while it's spinning, but just for added measure, I countersunk and put some screws in there too. Now I'm just following the build plan and cutting the 2x4s down to the required sizes. Once all the pieces are cut, it's pretty easy just to glue and screw them all together using a right angle to ensure everything's square along the way. Halfway through assembly, I decided to change my original design, specifically with the height adjustment. It was a little too complex and I didn't feel like taking the time to redesign it in order to make it work. Here I'm just using a chisel to countersink the nut into a piece of wood that's going to be the cross beam. The bolt's going to feed up through it, which will allow my height adjustment. Here's a really easy and quick jig I built on the fly in order to cut a 90-degree groove into the MDF circle to serve as the pulley for the bar that runs through the drum. The cordless Milwaukee router I'm using is incredibly useful. I wish I would have got it years ago. I use that thing almost every day. I got it linked below for you if you're interested. And now I'm just gluing the pulley onto the bar. I put a small spacer in there just so there would be more surface area and it would help keep the main pulley aligned. This is by far the most important part of the build process. You need to ensure that your drum is perfectly flat. It's pretty easy to do. I just have a scrap piece of wood with 60 grit sandpaper. I'm referencing the work surface. I'm running it back and forth. As I'm going, I'm marking it with a pencil. That'll show my high and low spots as I continue to sand. You just need to keep going and adjusting the table until all those pencil marks are removed. Then you know you have a perfectly flat drum. I didn't film attaching the sandpaper because it's pretty straightforward. What is important though is how you fix it on either end. All I did was make a back cut with a jigsaw and then used a small dab of super glue to glue the tip of the sandpaper down. It's not the best way to do it, but it is by far the fastest and easiest way. Pretty simple. Turning it right moves it up, turning it left moves it down. My original design called for these dovetail micro adjustment jigs. They didn't work. I got rid of them. If I was to do it again, I would definitely move the pulley from the outside to the inside here. It's going to save a lot of space. Since I ditched the dovetail micro adjustment jigs, I decided to go with the easiest and common sense way. Just check it and then shim one side or the other until it's good. And that's literally all you need to do. If you've never seen any of these giant erasers, they do a really good job of removing debris from sandpaper. I'll link some below. This drum sander only took me 3 days after work to build, probably a total, I'd say, of 9 hours. Depending on the type of work you do, for most people, drum sanders are definitely a nice to have, not a need to have, and I wasn't about to spend $1,500 on one. At the end of the day, this project only cost me around 60 bucks. I had a lot of the materials laying around, so I designed it with that in mind. I wanted to utilize the equipment I had already. This was a pretty easy build and it didn't take much time. If you want to try to do it yourself, I'll be sure to link a lot of the tools I used and the items required in the description below. I'll also have plans available on my website.